I want to clear some things up about Pigeon since her evolution is pretty confusing. She's not my fursona. That's more of what Ice Cafe Mocha Kit is or whatever this Ponytown OC would be. I'll explain that. I made Pigeon because I wanted a new fursona that wasn't Ice Cafe Mocha Kit since he's very attached to Scratch, and I wanted someone who would cover all of my socials. I wasn't really attached to my Ponytown Sona, and I mainly used Stellar for my vent art, so I'd rather not use her to represent me as a person. So I had to design an OC from scratch. I tried to make Pigeon to represent me as much as possible. I'm skittish, anxious, and paranoid, so I made her a deer. I made her ears down because I have major depressive disorder and deal with very strong depressive episodes all the time. I made her my favorite animal colors, green and brown. She had scars on her leg to mirror my own screwed up leg. I made her have a peacock tail because I've been sexualized my whole life, and I was planning to make her a fursuit, so I didn't want to feel unsafe in crowded spaces. So I decided to give her a tail that would cover my behind. I use ACE bandages a lot because my mom doesn't really believe in hospitals, so I'm always having to use them for everything, even when I sprained my wrist freshman year. Absolutely stank up the place because she would also make me use an obscene amount of fish oil. So, that's why she's covering her ruined leg with an ACE bandage. Again with the fursuit, I love the sound of chains and dog tags and metal, so I wanted to incorporate chains somehow so I would make a nice noise whenever I walked. She originally had venom like Gosha in Beastars because I thought it was cool, and also, it represented how often I would be shut up by teachers and adults in my youth when I was trying to report something, so Pigeon wouldn't want to open her mouth and talk because she would leak venom. But for a fursuiting perspective, I wasn't planning to talk anyway. She had fangs because I had a history of biting people. Fun fact, I was suspended only once during an after-school program for biting while playing family and I was the family dog. I didn't even bite anyone, but the teacher claimed I did and I was suspended for 3 days. Was always reminded by my mom every day when she drove me to school not to bite anyone. I was so confused. Lastly, I gave Pigeon a dress because I liked wearing dresses in cosplay, and I really liked this musical Spring Awakening that we performed at my school. And the girls were wearing petticoats which looked so fun to twirl, so I wanted to give Pigeon this outfit mostly so I have an excuse to get one. So, here's the original Pigeon. 21-year-old deer peacock hybrid fursona. Almost immediately, I was trying out hair because I felt like a fursuit without hair would look weird. But that's mostly just me being so used to drawing animals with hair that regular animal heads looked weird to me. I claimed that this was just what she looked like older and made her taller, but this didn't last. She got her head fluff back, and I was testing out how I wanted her tail to work by making a little coming out video that I was going to share once I got the suit, but since that hadn't happened yet, this isn't out. I was also wanting to show that her accessories were removable. They were like clips that would snap together. I started to make badges for her, and I decided to make her completely mute. I also decided that her clothes didn't matter, and I would just let her wear whatever I had on hand so I wouldn't overheat during summer cons or freeze during winter cons. I made it official that Pigeon was a broromantic and asexual. This Instagram account was moved since even though it was just an art account at the time, Magenta decided to go and dox me, spam that account, and link people to it. I will not be sharing the new one since I will have my con location shared. Again with how clothes don't really matter for her since she's wearing some sweater I don't own. We have a few that doesn't matter, but sometime during this, I decided to separate her as an OC and her as a fursuit. I made a badge with my personal preferences, but these no longer represented Art Pigeon. Art Pigeon became more of an arrow ace, clumsy child. First big visual changes were that her ears were now up and she became a yapper. So Art Pigeon would talk, but Suit Pigeon was mute. She also started getting a backstory of being Lord Shin's daughter who kind of had free reign to take his stuff and crafted a flail to attack the other animals with. I wouldn't say she was a panda hater, but she lived with some guy who had a bunch of weapons and sheet metal laying around, so she made things to play around with. This is where her flail came from. I was also inspired by Amori's sweetheart, so I brought her waist chain back which was absent for a while. I was also making the accessories for the suit and found a way to attach the wrecking ball to the belt so I wouldn't have to carry it or drag it. The sweetheart mirroring was a lot more obvious with the human version. By this time, I went back to Ice Cafe Mocha Kit being my fursona, and I didn't feel the need to change them. This image also shows Suit Pigeon since she doesn't have a mouth drawn. Nothing really changed for a while besides me clarifying that Art Pigeon was tiny. She's peacock-sized. She's also more confident than how she started. I then decided to make another OC that's of similar species, which was an okapi peacock hybrid. I still don't have a story or name for her, but she is related to Pigeon in some way. I was thinking either a mom or an older sister. Another Suit Pigeon. Suit Pigeon is more of a fursona than Art Pigeon is, which is why Suit Pigeon is here freezing, because I also think any temperature under 80°F is cold. Most recent reference was after I decided to make her scarred leg be instead okapi stripes, and her covering them was because she was embarrassed of them. A lot like how Melon from Beastars would cover his leopard spots in tattoos after he started growing them when he got older. Because this was a last-minute reference for a Secret Santa, I didn't want to add that in the reference, so I left her as is and didn't include the scars or bandages. She also has a blank pink dress here because I was having trouble looking for the right fabric to start sewing her dress. All I wanted was it to be pink, so as of right now, either Pigeon doesn't have any set outfits until I'm able to make her dress. I'm going to be talking about Suit Pigeon from here on. I didn't think I was skilled enough to make a fursuit, so I had Pigeon commissioned. Because she's taking a while, I decided to try my hand at making fursuit parts, starting with tails then the paws, then I decided to try making a full partial. I decided on Spirekit Claw because he's iconic, brightly colored, a fun pattern to do, and I wasn't emotionally attached to him like I was with Pigeon. So I felt like making him would be a lot more fun than stressful. You're probably wondering why I lied about not being a furry for so many years. That's mostly because I've noticed that Scratch was pretty anti-fur even though a lot of the website were Warriors fans. I wouldn't have been able to take the hate comments, so I just didn't say anything about it and kept denying that I was one. I was also mostly not aware that I was a furry until I started cosplaying a few years ago. I grew up with peers that made you think that furries were super disgusting people, so I was one of those kids who hated furries for no reason other than everyone else hated them. Then once I started cosplaying as Rum Tum Tugger and Beastars Melon and Beatrice Horseman, I realized that I loved to cosplay. And I felt a lot more comfortable talking to people when I was able to act like a different character. After I started to separate from Scratch, I felt a lot more comfortable being who I was and decided to come out as a furry on Discord first. My friends in real life now know, and they're very supportive. My partner even got me a sewing machine and a box to organize my tools instead of how I would throw everything into a plastic container. But, yeah, anti-fur to fursuiter pipeline went crazy. Anyway, here's what I've made so far with Spirekit Claw. I got everything but foam from fursuitsupplies.com, whom are super awesome and cheap. The shipping was crazy since it's international, but I was able to get everything I needed for about $90. I started with the tail since it was the easiest. It's stuffed with stuffing to be soft and huggable. I then made the two-hand paws with lining to make it comfortable to wear. The pads are puffy and I have plastic claws, which sound really nice. I did make one claw super crooked on accident, but let's just ignore that. I could probably fix it later anyway. Then I did the sleeves. I had them separate so I could attach or remove them depending on what I was wearing. It would be a full partial, so I would be wearing whatever top I wanted. If it's short-sleeved, I'd use the arms, but if it's like a hoodie, I just have the paws. I'm currently working on the feet. I don't have a shaver that works with this fur, so I had to cut it manually, but I tried to make the toes shaved while the rest of it is longer so the toes were easier to see. It's actually only 3 toes, but I cut the parts to make it look like there were 4. I plan to do at least some of the leg, but I'm not sure if I want to do those big padded ones yet or not since I do need a belt to hold my tail up. But anyway, yeah, that's what I've been doing for a while now. I've been a lot more engaged with my physical hobbies rather than my online hobbies after the whole 10 years of work being deleted out of nowhere, so that's why I've been pretty inactive. My Discord servers are still open and I talk there a lot if you've ever wanted to see what I was up to. While I was editing this video, Magenta decided to go insane again and spam everyone about how I had a secret TikTok account. while she does post public images of my room and fursuit from my Blue Sky account. I still want people to be aware that this TikTok account is not mine and to just report her for being underage and impersonating.